Imagine a force of 5,000 men. They are not just any men. They are the hardened, disciplined soldiers of a Roman legion. Their armor gleams under a foreign sun. Polished iron plates, bronze fittings catching the light. Each man carries the iconic rectangular shield, the scutum. Each man carries the short, deadly gladius. They march in perfect formation, their hobnailed sandals, the caligae, grinding the earth. Their standards, topped with the silver eagle of Rome, catch the light. These men are a living weapon, the very embodiment of Roman power. And then, no final glorious battle cry, no definitive record of their fate. They disappear, they vanish from the pages of history. One moment, they are a functioning, fighting unit of the Roman army. The next, they are a name on a list that simply stops. There is no official report of their annihilation that survives to this day. There is no grand tombstone listing their heroic last stand. There are no captured standards paraded through the streets of an enemy capital. Before it became a mystery, the Ninth Legion was a legend. Its history stretches back into the late Roman Republic, likely raised by Pompey in Hispania around 65 BC. It earned the cognomen Hispana for its long service in Spain, forged in the crucible of difficult campaigns. It fought under Julius Caesar during the Gallic Wars, a mark of prestige. They helped conquer Gaul and crossed the English Channel in the first Roman invasions of Britain. Their service reads like a tour of Rome's most dangerous frontiers. The legion was stationed along the Rhine. It took part in the final conquest of the Cantabrians in Spain, but its most famous posting was in Britain, one of 4 legions in Claudius's 43 AD invasion force. For decades stationed in the north, pushing Roman control outward, it faced Boudicca's rebellion in 60–61 AD, suffering heavy casualties trying to quell the uprising. Life in the Ninth meant relentless discipline and hard labor. A legionary's day was not just about fighting, it was about building forts, roads, bridges, walls, paving the way for Roman civilization to follow. Loyalty to his centurion, his legion, his emperor. The eagle standard, the Aquila, was the soul of the legion, and its loss in battle was the ultimate disgrace. By the early 2nd century AD, the Ninth was a cornerstone of Rome's military in Britain, based at Eboracum. The men of the Ninth were guardians of the northern fringe of the known world, a symbol of Rome's seemingly unstoppable expansion, poised and ready just before its name began to fade. The mystery of the Ninth Legion begins not with a bang, but with the quiet turning of pages and the slow realization that a name is missing. In the highly bureaucratic Roman Empire, legions were meticulously tracked. We have lists of legions and their commanders, inscriptions on buildings they constructed, records of where they were stationed. For the Ninth, this paper trail is clear and consistent for a long time, from Spain to the Rhine, and then to Britain. We have stone inscriptions from York carved by the legionaries themselves. One such inscription, a stone tablet from the south gate of the fortress at Eboracum, is dated to 108 AD. This inscription from York is the last certain datable record of the Ninth Legion in Britain. It tells us that in 108 AD, under the Emperor Trajan, the legion rebuilt the fortress gate in stone. It is a solid, tangible piece of evidence. After this date, the stone inscriptions bearing the name of Legio IX Hispana in Britain fall silent. Writers like Tacitus and Cassius Dio provide detailed accounts of Roman military campaigns, but their works contain a frustrating gap when it comes to the Ninth's final years. They do not mention a catastrophic defeat in Britain around this time involving the Ninth. If an entire legion had been wiped out, it would have been a military disaster of the highest order, much like the infamous loss of 3 legions in the Teutoburg forest in 9 AD. A handful of inscriptions found in the Netherlands at Noviomagus, modern-day Nijmegen, seem to mention senior officers of the Ninth Legion. These suggest detachments or high-ranking personnel were transferred to the Rhine frontier sometime after Britain, perhaps around 120 AD, evidence that contradicts complete annihilation in Scotland. The most famous and dramatic theory places the end of the Ninth Legion in the misty, unconquered lands north of Hadrian's Wall. Around the year 117 AD, the Legion marched north from its base at York to deal with an uprising of the Caledonian tribes. It advanced deep into hostile territory, a long column snaking through rugged hills and dense forests of what is now Scotland. The Romans, confident in their discipline and equipment, were lured into a trap. The northern tribes, using local knowledge, launched a massive coordinated ambush. The Legion was caught off guard, unable to form defensive battle lines. Warriors screaming from the hillsides, charging down from all directions. The disciplined ranks break under the onslaught. Men are isolated, surrounded, and cut down. Within a day, or perhaps a few days, the entire force is annihilated. The Eagle Standard is captured. 5,000 bodies are swallowed by the landscape. The northern frontier was notoriously volatile. Roman sources record serious trouble around 117 AD. So severe, Hadrian would visit years later and order his wall to seal the north. However, there are significant problems. The primary issue is a complete lack of archaeological evidence. An engagement of this size should have left a substantial footprint, weapons, armor, coins, skeletons, yet no such site has been found. Faint evidence of Ninth Legion officers later in the Netherlands directly contradicts the idea the Legion was wiped out in 117 AD. The silence of contemporary historians remains a major stumbling block. Section 5, Theory 2, a quiet end in the East. A less dramatic but perhaps more plausible theory suggests the Ninth Legion did not meet its end in Britain at all. Instead, it was simply withdrawn from the province and redeployed elsewhere in the empire. The evidence of Ninth Legion officers at Novi Omegus in the Netherlands could be the first step in this journey. The Legion, or at least its command structure, may have been transferred from Britain to the Rhine frontier around 121 AD, and from there eastward. This theory posits the Ninth was sent to the volatile eastern frontier to participate in one of Rome's major wars against the Parthian Empire, perhaps under Marcus Aurelius in the 160s AD. Its end could have come there in a major battle against the skilled cavalry of the Parthians, or it may have been decimated by the deadly Antonine plague that ravaged the Roman army during that campaign. This accounts for the Netherlands' inscriptions and explains the disappearance from Britain, but the subsequent journey to the east is pure speculation. There are no known inscriptions or reports placing the entire Ninth in the eastern provinces, and each link in the chain is weak and unsupported by direct evidence. It replaces the mystery of a disappearance in Britain with the mystery of an unrecorded transfer and an unrecorded destruction somewhere else. Well, that's the crux of it. Section 6. Theory 3. The final stand in Judea. A third major theory places the Ninth destruction in a different but equally brutal conflict, the Bar Kokhba revolt in Judea. This massive uprising, which raged from 130 to 136 AD, was one of the most difficult and bloody wars of Rome's imperial history. The Jewish rebels, led by Simon Bar Kokhba, were well organized, fought with ferocious determination, inflicting enormous casualties. Cassius Dio states that the Romans suffered very heavy losses, and that one or more legions were effectively wiped out, but he does not name which legions. This theory proposes the Ninth was sent from Europe to Judea. In the intense guerrilla warfare of the Judean hills, the legion could have been ambushed and destroyed, its men cut down in a series of costly engagements. A defeat of this nature might have been deliberately downplayed in official records. Hadrian was so shaken that, in his report to the Senate, he omitted the customary opening phrase, "I and the legions are well." This offers a known, high-casualty conflict that could explain why the Ninth disappears from legion lists by the reign of Marcus Aurelius around 165 AD. Yet there is no inscription, no specific mention placing Legio IX Hispana in Judea during the revolt. Proponents fill a gap with another gap. While plausible and logical, it remains an assumption, one of several competing possibilities. So, That's where things stand, plausible but unproven. In the absence of a clear written account, archaeology becomes our most important tool. The search for physical evidence of the Ninth Legion's fate has been a long and often frustrating endeavor. Archaeologists have meticulously excavated Roman forts, battle sites and settlements across Britain and Europe, hoping to find a clue. The most desired prize would be a mass grave or a battlefield, a smoking gun that proves a military catastrophe. For Scotland, this lack is the most damning argument against annihilation there. A battle involving over 5,000 Roman soldiers and thousands of native warriors would leave a vast archaeological signature. Yet the Scottish landscape has yielded nothing on this scale. What the ground does tell us comes in smaller pieces. Inscriptions from York dated to 108 AD, tile stamps and armor fragments from Nijmegen, suggesting detachments, if not the whole legion, were stationed there after Britain. Excavations on the northern frontier show destruction and rebuilding c. 117–120 AD, confirming crisis, not specifically the ninth. Archaeology in Judea confirms the revolt's ferocity, siege works, cave hideouts, but again, no link to the ninth. Ultimately, archaeology has dismantled the romantic Scottish battle and hinted at a continental transfer, but the trail quickly goes cold. History is not just what happened, it is also about the stories we tell about what happened. The fate of the Ninth Legion is a perfect example. The story of the Legion marching into the Scottish mists to be completely annihilated is by far the most famous version. This narrative took firm root in the 20th century, largely thanks to Rosemary Sutcliffe's 1954 novel The Eagle of the Ninth, a compelling tale of honor, loss, redemption. It presented a Braveheart-style narrative, playing on the romantic image of the Scottish Highlands as a wild, untamable land that even Rome could not conquer. A quiet transfer, a slow decline due to disease, lacks the narrative punch of a heroic last stand. The myth provides a better story, and we love good stories. Books, television, films perpetuate it, often presenting the Scottish theory as fact. Yet inscriptions from the Netherlands and the lack of a battlefield challenge that tale. The Lost Legion is a cautionary tale about how speculation can harden into accepted truth, reminding us to ask what evidence stories are based on. Behind the debates and theories, it is crucial to remember that Legio IX Hispana was not an abstract symbol. It was a community of thousands of individual human beings, young recruits from Italy, seasoned veterans from Spain and Gaul, local auxiliaries from across the empire. These men had families, friends, hopes, fears. A soldier, perhaps named Lucius or Marcus, would have spent his days training, building, patrolling. Imagine a letter home written on a thin wooden tablet, describing the endless reign of Britain, asking about his family's health and the olive harvest back on his farm in Hispania. He complains about the bland food and the coarse wool of his uniform, mentions a skirmish, downplaying danger to spare worry. Whether the Legion was wiped out in a single day or slowly broken apart over years, the end result was the same. Thousands of personal stories cut short or irrevocably altered. If annihilated, the human cost is immediate. Sons, husbands, fathers lost in a foreign land. If transferred, families uprooted to the Rhine or the East, or left behind with promises never fulfilled. Each theory carries a different kind of loss: the swift ambush, the grinding attrition of distant war, or the bureaucratic dissolution scattering comrades to the winds. Whatever the true story, it is a story of profound disruption and loss. When we ponder the fate of the Ninth, we should not only see the eagle and the gleaming armor, we should also see the faces of the men who marched beneath it and the families who waited for them. Today, on November 12, 2025, the fate of the Ninth Legion remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the Roman world. We have theories, fragments of evidence, a powerful myth, but we have no certainty. The Legion stands as a potent symbol of the limits of our historical knowledge. It reminds us that the past is a foreign country, much of which is unmapped and shrouded in fog. The clean, linear narratives we often construct are an illusion. The reality is messy, contradictory, and full of gaps. The Ninth Legion exists within one of the largest of those gaps. The search for answers continues. Each year, new digs are undertaken. New technologies, ground-penetrating radar, DNA analysis of ancient remains, offer the potential to uncover clues once hidden. Historians continue to re-examine ancient texts and inscriptions, looking for new interpretations or overlooked details. It is possible that one day a single discovery, a soldier's tombstone in Turkey, a dedication slab in Israel, a cache of weapons in Scotland could blow the case wide open. The story is not necessarily over. Until then, the Ninth will fascinate us, inviting us to weigh the evidence ourselves. Dramatic catastrophe in the north, a legion transferred and lost in the fog of a larger war, a quiet fading by paperwork. The silence that surrounds Legio IX Hispana is its most profound legacy.